Yesterday's AEW card All Out absolutely lived up to expectations. It may or may not have exceeded your expectations if you were expecting blowaway matches top to bottom, but it delivered. There were plenty of debuts, there were a couple of returns, and it was just a lot of fun and is a welcome change to the pro wrestling landscape, okay? Gone are the days of having to just kind of trudge through WWE sports entertainment product or hopping on janky services in order to watch NJPW or, just trolling old YouTube archives to watch old 90s All Japan stuff. AEW put on a great product, and they showed you that there is a lot of potential there with working with other partners around the world to put on great fucking matches up and down the card, okay? There was one absolute blow-away match. There was nothing on there that absolutely sucked. Everything did its stated purpose, and hey, I was happy as a motherfucker watching that 3.5 hour card. It literally just flew by. And you know what was great about this? They didn't blow their entire creative load on one show, okay? They already have a card that's set up fucking great with a bunch of different people as well for the Wednesday show. And then they had the one big non-title match that would have had a debut on it that was supposed to be on this show, Andrade and Pac. They already have it moved off to Friday, and they're just set up. And there is every division just deep with contenders. They're not just having to drag up some old fucking finished legend from the retirement home. And they aren't just hiring everybody who gets cut from the Fed. This is quickly becoming appointment viewing. And we're going to run down the card, okay? When I did my preview on, what was that, Saturday? I think it was Saturday. My match order, I don't think I got a whole hell of a lot right, but I got the debuts mostly right. And one I was very, very happy to be incorrect on because it's even better than I thought, and it made me pop the hardest of the night. So I'm not going to go through blow by blow, move by move. I would highly, highly, highly recommend to procure a copy of this for you to watch on replay, however you want to. I got the fight feed. It all played perfectly for me. I know people have a lot of problems with fight from time to time, but no, it was all on the up and up for me. No delay, no stuttering. Even on less than ideal TELUS internet, it was just absolutely perfect. But if you need to go sailing with Captain Jack Sparrow, I totally understand, but it would definitely be worth your time. But everything shooked out basically how you would expect, especially with the opening match, the buy-in match. Around about 10 minutes, a whole bunch of dives. The good guys went over, and then there was a return at the end of it. Matt Hardy's crew, he has Private Party, he has TH2, and he also has the Butcher and the Blade as well. And hey, yeah, the Butcher, after 7 months of being off, he made his return, made a beatdown on Orange Cassidy, one of the most over guys in the company, potentially setting up a program between the Best Friends crew and Butcher and the Blade. A lot of little matchups there that will just, play very well because the roster's getting full and there's still a lot of stuff that a bunch of people can do. And it'll also give direction to a group that in the Hardy family office that kind of seems a little bit directionless at the moment. With a whole bunch of talent in that group, they're just not really going anywhere. They're just kind of spinning their wheels at the moment. So they square off with Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, those guys over there. Bring in Chris Statlander, have the Bunny because she's with Butcher and Blade. Yeah, a lot of matches there. A lot of good content on the horizon there. And for UFC fans, Dan Lambert, head of American Top Team, he was working a little program with, was it still TNA at the time? Over on Impact. He was working with Bobby Lashley. He's a hell of a good promo. And this time he brought with him Jorge Masvidal, Junior Dos Santos, and Andrei Arlovsky. Don't know if they're going to be mixing it up in the ring or not, but then they're also going to be, Dan Lambert is at least going to be siding with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Dan Lambert's entire gimmick so far has been saying, oh, look at all of these UFC fighters that I have here. They're real men. And then he brings in Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page saying that these guys are the real men of AEW. They're extremely dangerous men. They're going to make their presence known in AEW, and they're gonna kick some ass or whatever. It was a whole hell of a lot better than, and a whole lot more different because you have guys who have held championships, like between Andrei Arlovsky and Junior Dos Santos, just in the UFC, I think like 5 heavyweight champions or 5 heavyweight championship reigns, and Jorge Masvidal who's challenged for the welterweight belt on several occasions. Like, these are top tier, like, Hall of Fame talents. So it's a good look. It adds legitimacy. And if they want to just mix it up inside the ring, I don't think anybody's going to doubt their credibility. Then before we get to just running down the card, Jim Ross came out, and I love Jim Ross. Okay, everybody's saying it, right? Soundtrack of your childhood if you were watching WWF back in the day. Yeah. If we're gonna be honest, Jim Ross hasn't been good old JR for about 10 years at this point, and it showed. He was so fucking annoying on this entire card, saying whenever anybody would do anything that would miss, oh, that was stupid. Or especially in the tag team cage match. Oh, which one of these guys is the legal man? They really need to start following the rules. It's like it's a tornado tag match, Jim, and they're inside of a fucking cage. Where do you expect them to stand, He's great with the sit-down interviews. Outside of the ring, he is still incredibly valuable. He just doesn't add anything on commentary nowadays. He just makes these old man fucking references. And Don Callis at one point during that aforementioned cage match, which we'll get to, he called him out for making an old man reference, and he didn't have anything to come back and say, which 10 or 15 years ago, he would have been right on Callis's ass for bringing that up. So just let him do the interview stuff, because his stuff with Jericho in the lead up, his sit down with CM Punk, those were all really good. Just on commentary though. It's not like the team is lacking for really, really, really good commentators. Excalibur's probably the best in the business. Tony Schiavone reinvigorated ever since he came over to AEW. He's been absolutely killing it. And Taz, it's been a minute since I've heard Taz on commentary, and god damn, is he good. So yeah, as for the card itself, enough complaining about Jim Ross. Everybody does that, but yeah, he was really bad and he was really annoying, but you can kind of just forgive him because of how fucking good this card was. So it started off with the TNT Championship match. Miro, formerly Rusev, defeated Eddie Kingston. 13 minutes. They just about went to the 20-minute time limit, and my prediction for a draw would have been fulfilled, but hey, this match ruled. Eddie Kingston made himself the first person to get out of the game over, his camel clutch, by getting to the ropes. It seemed to really annoy Miro. The finish came when Eddie Kingston was trying to grab for the turnbuckle in order to stop a suplex from happening. Ripped off the turnbuckle cover, ended up hitting a back fist and a DDT in a minute. Went for the cover, and then the referee, the second time in as many championship challenges, was a little bit slow to get to the cover. Ended up costing Kingston. Miro came back and a couple of pump kicks, covered him for the 1, 2, 3. So that still leads up to the idea that maybe on Dynamite, maybe on Rampage, Kingston will come out, chastise the ref for fucking him on this one, which absolutely everybody's seen it. The crowd was white hot for this match, like it says here in the review. And they were pissed at Bryce Ramsberg for fucking going over to the corner to put back the pad. It was nuclear for him. So I think he gets the opportunity to run it back at the Grand Slam show, one at Arthur Ashe Stadium in the 22nd of September. I think they run it back there, and then they flip the title there, because Miro, great character work. The whole presentation, all the way from when the horns hit for his intro music, presenting the championship on the top belt as he's God's favorite champion. It would be so great to do the whole Redeemer gimmick once he loses the championship, of him trying to gain favor back from God in order to retain or regain one of his championships, or a championship. It would be so fucking good. And he's so goddamn over too. And this was an incredibly smartened up crowd, and it really helped the next match tremendously. Next up was Jon Moxley going over Satoshi Kojima. Like I said, I was looking forward to this match, and I really wanted it to start the night. And hey, fucking TNT Championship match, that was really good to start the night as well. So hey, that's why I'm not in charge. That's why I don't have the book on this one, because, well, for a multitude of reasons, obviously. But yeah, this was so fucking good. And then it had the best. This was the biggest pop of the night for me, for sure. But the match itself, yeah, it was really good. A lot of hard hitting strikes, a bunch of machine gun chops from Kojima. It looks kind of stupid if you aren't really used to Japanese pro wrestling, it just kind of looks like, you're just kind of massaging somebody in the corner, and it doesn't look like they're fucking hitting that hard, but it's a good spot if it goes a long enough time. Kensuke Sasaki and I think it was Kenta Kobashi, 12 minutes, all they threw was chops. It was fucking awesome. Just goes to show you that chops probably the single most over move when done right. Just check out a Walter match as well. Yeah, the finish came when Moxley went in, sunk in the bulldog choke. Kojima got the bottom rope, setting up to hit his big lariat. Moxley catches him, hits him with a regular double underhook DDT, paradigm shift, and then picks him up one more time, and then hits the more brainbuster variant of it where he picks him up and then just lands him directly on his fucking dome. It always looks a little bit sick. You got the 1, 2, 3. And then the camera work is something I'll touch on here for a minute and won't really bring it up too much more. The camera work was really, really, really great right here because, okay, opposite of the ramp, Moxley's getting up to his feet. And then all of a sudden you see the stage and you see the Trons on the side and you hear a little bit of music, and the way that AEW mics their shit is fucking abominable. So you couldn't quite hear the music on TV, but you could see the Titantron, or you can see the Trons playing. So the names King came up, and just the night before, Moxley was at GCW, the hardcore show, and surprise spot over there, won the title. Set up a match with Nick Gage, who was in the death match with Chris Jericho from a couple of weeks ago. That's going to be a big bloody brawl for GCW fans if you're a fan of deathmatch wrestling. It's going to be a lot of fun over there. Not really my cup of tea, but that match is going to be big money for GCW. So Moxley came out through the crowd to start the match wearing a GCW show. And then right at the end, when I'm saying that you're looking right up at the ramp and you see the Trons and it says the King to begin with, okay? It's been a minute since I watched New Japan stuff, so it's like, that looks familiar. And I was like, oh, the King. It's like, oh, okay. Oh, that's Nick Gage's nickname, the King of the Death Match. The King, Nick Gage. It's like, oh, okay, so Nick Gage is going to do a rundown. And then Minoru Suzuki comes out, and nobody knew that this was going to happen. There was no indication that he was around. Like it says here, yeah, after the match, his music plays, Kaze ni Nare. Everybody in the building, if they didn't know who he was, there was 3 or 4 people around them who knew who Minoru Suzuki was. And if you're unfamiliar with him, I think he's like, 53 at this point? He was one of the founders of Pancrase. He's a legit badass. And he got into it with Jon Moxley, throwing chops and elbows and lariats, and then hit him with the Gotch-style pile driver to set up a match for this fucking Wednesday in Moxley's hometown. And I've seen that match in New Japan, and it fucking rules, and you're gonna get it on AEW television. If you're interested in checking it out, it'll be this fucking Wednesday. Check your local listings. And that was the biggest pop for me because you knew the rest of them that were going to be coming out. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. But this one was completely different because I expected the Tanahashi video because they're still working towards that match. So maybe that one's going to be on Full Gear. Maybe that's going to be on one of the special Dynamites between now and then. Or maybe it'll be on Wednesday to set up that match down the road sometime. This was completely unexpected. A huge fucking pop, a huge ovation, and sets up a great fucking match. AEW's Women's World Championship match was up next. Britt Baker goes over Chris Statlander. Of course, that was only 11 minutes and 30 seconds. It felt longer. It wasn't... to say that it wasn't that great is not to disparage it or anything. It's just, it was Britt Baker's best defense as the champion, but she hasn't really had a whole bunch of really great matches as champion. Like I said in the preview for the card, Britt Baker can have a great match with a great worker, but Chris Statlander is still pretty young, pretty green, and it showed when they ended up taking a shoot superplex. Like, for fuck's sakes, it just looked like they were perched up in the corner at one point, and it looked like it was just going to be, that old, you're going to be going over, set her back down, and then I don't know if Britt got off balance or what, but Britt looked like she was going to fall off, and then Statlander caught her, and then she's like, well, guess what, you're going over now, and then just completely hulks her over her head, and they're always putting over how strong Statlander is, and that really showed. And then there was an electric chair set up where it just looked like, okay, all of a sudden we're just going to take Britt Baker. Statlander has her up in the electric chair position, the old doomsday device set up for the Road Warriors, and then just absolutely fucks her right on her face. And looked pretty bad, but all things considered, yeah, it was pretty hard hitting, mostly accidentally, but Baker tried to put on the Rings of Saturn with the mandible claw, the lockjaw. Tried it about halfway through the match, and then got her glove gimmick from Rebel, I think. And then at the end of the day, Chris Statlander tried to go for her 450 splash. Ended up eating shit on that. Britt, once again, gets in the Rings of Saturn. Hits the mandible claw. Taps her out. But the big spot of the match was also Britt Baker teasing one of Adam Cole's, her boyfriend, who debuted later in the night. One of his big moves, which sounds cool, which looks cool, but it's goofy as a motherfucker, okay? Panama Sunrise, that's Adam Cole's variant. She's going to call it the Pittsburgh Sunrise. At least that's what, Excalibur put it over as. Okay, cool, whatever. It's a second rope into a Canadian destroyer, okay? So you're on the second rope, and then the person's hunched over in a destroyer position, obviously. You hop down off the second turnbuckle, and then you do a Canadian destroyer. It adds no momentum. It's actually a fucking momentum killer. It's just a cool setup, and it lets people know that a destroyer's coming. I don't know. It's kind of fucking goofy, but it looks cool. And that's mostly professional wrestling anyways. So good spot. Nice tease. The sloppy match. It was good. It just, when compared to the rest of the other matches on the shows, and especially the first two that were out there, it leaves a lot to be desired. But again, there's a lot of other matches in the pipeline that are going to make Britt Baker even more of an accomplished worker, because from when this entire thing started, because the women's division has been built around Britt Baker, when she starts to get more reps with a bunch more established women, she's going to get better. She's gotten better. Just her progress from when this all started to now is fairly fucking astounding. Yeah, there was an Andrade and Chavo promo in the back after this one. Andrade was trying to put over the idea that Pac was scared to face him on the card. Chavo made it seem like, I don't know. I don't know if anybody messed with his American Airlines flight. I don't even have American Airlines phone number. It's like nobody said anything about American Airlines flights. So clearly it's getting set up that Andrade fucked around with Pac's flight to get over. But hey, it's a nice little excuse. It doesn't need a whole lot of investigation into, because the match is just coming up Friday and the card was full as fuck anyways. And really, I've heard some criticism that, the card was too long, 3.5 hours is too long. You have the hour-long pre-show, which there was one match on it. It was about 10 minutes. You didn't need to watch the entire pre-show anyways, but I don't get it, because the criticism is, it's too long. There's no card that should be longer than 3 hours. It's like, okay, well, if it's as full of action as this was, I don't get it. Why is Long Man bad on this one? It fucking doesn't make any sense to me, but hey, that's other people. Fucking you guys do you. If you need clicks by saying that, cards are too long because they're too long, fucking more power to you. And then, that tag team cage match, that was fucking insane. 22 minutes. It didn't feel like it at all. Crazy Spot Fest was exactly what everybody thought. Probably one of the best entrances of a live performance of a theme song that I've seen. It was just a rapping of the Lucha Bros theme. And it sounded really good. Like most musical performances, there was one that came up just after this or within a couple of matches of this, which stunk to high heaven. But this one was good. And it's like one of the first times that you've ever seen live rap, and it doesn't suck. So the Lucha Bros had exquisite entry gear. They had the big Aztec headdresses. All of their ring gear was totally on point. And yeah, a lot of it got bloody and a lot of it got ripped up, because there was a turning point in the match where the Bucks got tossed a bag that had a Nike sneaker that was the sole of it was completely covered in thumbtacks, and then Penta and Phoenix got hit with super kicks, and Penta's mask, was completely ripped, and it didn't really much matter because he had enough blood that was all fucking gushing from his head to totally cover his face anyways, so no identity was revealed on this show. But holy fuck, there are too many spots to go over this one. I wouldn't even bother starting to do that. But it was one of the best cage matches, and yes, Phoenix came off the top of this 20 fucking foot tall cage. Big old crossbody onto everybody. Top rope destroyers, like not the goofy fucking hop off, but like set up on the top rope, hit a fucking destroyer, stand around in a circle, throw a chop at one another, then throw a super kick at one another, and then finish game with an assisted sit-out pile driver. Lucha Bros are new tag champs. Okay, didn't call that one, but super glad, because that just opens up an entire plethora of fresh new matchups for the tag team division. And the Lucha Bros are one of the best tag teams in the world, maybe the best tag team in the world. And it's also great because both of those guys as singles workers are, again, like top 10 in the company. And that's saying something, especially in this company. So if you needed to watch one match on this show, definitely that one. Definitely that one. It was fucking awesome. And then, yeah, at the end, Pentagon was just signaling to his family and his crowd. So his kids came out and they got hugged and kissed by their father. And then they had a whole bunch of blood on them. So they needed to take them to the back and clean them up. But it was really touching. And the fucking match ruled. Women's Casino Battle Royale. Boy, did this suck. It wasn't that bad, but still, the camera work here was fucking atrocious. Oh, look at that. Someone's coming out. Who is it? Who is it? No, let's just wait and linger on the fucking ring while somebody's just worthlessly throwing a chop. Oh, that's Riho. It's like, and then she got fucking J-broned in this one real hard. It's like, oh, she went through the middle rope. Oh, I guess she's been eliminated. And it's like, well, she wasn't going to win anyway, so just fucking shuffle her to the back. Weird booking of Nyla Rose in this one. Tossing over everybody, including some of the heels, which you're never going to be working a program with, at least within the foreseeable future. So you build up somebody who was the champion, somebody who's been around for a long time, and then you use her to toss over one of your big upcoming heel menaces in Jade Cargill. That didn't make a lot of sense. And then, like I said, you J-broned your first ever women's champion who's moving to America to work more shows for you. In Riho, Hikaru Shida got needlessly dumped out. The Bunny ended up working more of this match, and she really needed to, because there were a whole bunch of other people that were out there that could really have used the exposure of the match. But the big things of this match was, yes, the former Ruby Riott, Ruby Soho. Sweet entrance. She looked totally overwhelmed by the response. Big chance for her, even as there was just the countdown to the final entrant coming out. It was special. It was loud. The pop. It's like everybody knew she was going to be there. She came out. She couldn't have even anticipated the response that she got, and she came out and she worked great. Okay, but also at the same time, Thunder Rosa, the only other person, like there's probably what I would say a half dozen women, probably a little bit more than that can actually go, and a whole bunch of just work in progress candidates that are there. But when it comes to overscale, like you got Britt Baker, who's somewhere through the roof, okay? And then you have Thunder Rosa, who is one of the last two that were remaining, along with the winner, and eventually Ruby Soho. And then, yeah, you had Ruby, who's probably just a little bit lower than Thunder Rosa. And then everybody else is like somewhere in the middle or lower when it comes to being over with this crowd. And I don't know if they were getting tired at this point, or it was just, you know, your typical battle royal, which is supposed to kind of continue on with different storylines. But when it comes to the women's division, there's not a lot of, you know, angles that have really been shot here. And I don't know, until it ended up getting down to Soho and Rosa there. They had a nice little back and forth. They got on the apron, hit a few moves, and then eventually, yes, Ruby Soho tossed out Thunder Rosa, because Thunder Rosa is going to be the one to take the belt off Britt Baker, probably at Revolution, maybe at Full Gear if they go ahead and move that forward a little bit. But I think that there's also an angle to be shot where you can have Britt Baker join up with the Elite. That totally makes sense. Have Thunder Rosa win it at Revolution. Have Ruby come in, work with Baker, do something great for like a Halloween special show, Thanksgiving show. Give her a championship shot then. She's a good worker, but you don't just bring in somebody new from the Fed and immediately put the title on them. This isn't TNA from 10 years ago. Oh, here was the one with the botched live performance. Yeah, MJF had a sweet entrance. They were going to have, if you guys remember, if you were watching WWF at the time when Jericho first debuted over there, he had the countdown clock. He was a Millennium Man. He was Y2J. So I had the countdown clock, and it's like, oh yeah, that's MJF. And then, yeah, it just counts down, and then all of a sudden it hits 0. Place goes dark. Everybody's, oh my God, it's Jericho. He's going to do for his final match. Definitely. He's going to do the old classic intro. And then there's just some farty pyro that came up and just, And then just a graphic. It's just the old roll that used to be there when they used to do the Jericho name roll on the Titantron. It was just Chris Jericho's last match. It's like, and then MJF came out with a sweet robe. And also, if you guys pay attention, okay, MJF is one of those old classic heels, and he knows how the business works, okay? Whenever he does something kind of exceptionally scummy, even for MJF, he makes a t-shirt out of it. Okay, that's an old Roddy Piper gimmick, and the kid was wearing red, so whenever Flair used to lose a big match, he would always wear red, so I already knew that, you know, Jericho was definitely going over on this one. And yeah, no, the match was really, really, really good. And the crowd really, really, really bought on the false finish. Big distraction about halfway through the match. Nothing really, you know, of note all the way up until that point, until about the 2/3 of the way through. It was really well worked. And you know what? They all got their spots off. And MJF has this really sweet pendulum pile driver heat seeker. It's kind of like if you're familiar with Randy Orton, his draping DDT, except MJF gets him up in a pile driver, has their legs on the second rope, and then jumps up and then comes down. Heat seeker. It's fucking great. But the first finish came when that distraction came. Wardlow, MJF's enforcer, came down, and then Jake Hager, former Jack Swagger, he hasn't been Jack Swagger in a minute, and he's way better booked as Jake Hager anyways, comes down, chases off Wardlow. Big scrum on the outside. One other referee came out to just make sure that nobody comes into the ring, and then tries to chase him out. And then Aubrey Edwards, who's the ref for this one, just like make sure, oh no, make sure you throw those guys out. Don't worry about it. And MJF grabs Jericho's back gimmick, hits him in the head with it, and then takes Jericho's finish, the back elbow, the Judas effect, covers him. Aubrey Edwards gets in a very odd positioning to be counting the pin, real close to the ropes. 1, 2, Jericho puts his foot on the rope. Aubrey counts 3, calls for the bell. MJF's music hits. Everybody in the crowd, oh my God, no, boo. Everybody bid on it. Whether it's a smart crowd just trying to play it up for the TV, don't quite know, but yeah, everybody bid on it. But then that referee who came down to break up Wardlow and Hager gets Aubrey's attention. Paul Turner, you know, calls her over and is like, no, Jericho's leg was on the rope. And she's like, what was that again? And they ended up pantomiming through all this kind of stuff. And then, oh, okay. And then Aubrey finally gets it and goes over to the timekeeper. We're going to restart this. And they restart the match. Jericho tries a quick roll up on MJF. That doesn't work. MJF turns it into his armbar gimmick. Jericho gets to the ropes, ends up turning it into the walls of Jericho, tries to turn it into the old lion tamer with the old knee in the back, can't quite get it, and just ends up sitting back way deep on it. MJF taps out, rest of the inner circle comes out, and then they celebrate to end the show. That part of the show, my mistake. 2 big matches and fucking Big Show's stupid 3-minute gimmick. It was good for what it needed to be. You know, I probably won't go back and, you know, specifically search it out to watch it. I'm just interested as to where the inner circle goes from here. Do they continue to feud? Because, yeah, okay, that was an entire, you know, little fucked deal at the end there. And members of each group are still continuing to feud. The Pinnacle, MJF's group, their tag team, formerly the Revival, FTR, is still feuding with the inner circles. Santana and Ortiz for a minute. They each have 1-1 in their tag team series. Or if they spin that off into something else. I don't think, like I predicted in the preview of the card, if they're going to spin off to the Elite on this one, because, oh boy, is there a whole bunch of stuff going up there anyway. So I could see them continuing this little Pinnacle gimmick, but I don't know. That kind of seems played out at this point. So maybe there's going to be another 6-person stable pop up. That totally makes sense. Maybe they feud with Hardy's group for a minute. That would be all right. Make them do something. There's a lot of directions it can go. And hey, there's plenty of programming out there. And God knows this wasn't the end of anything in this company. All doors are still wide fucking open. And CM Punk's big return, 16 minutes. I didn't seem that long. Okay, that's kind of a theme throughout this show. Darby Allin had the special intro video for this match. He had a body bag and he was just zipping it up and it said best in the world, CM Punk's catchphrase on it. And then it started to get drug along, and then all of a sudden he had a chopper, so he was doing the whole Taliban through Kabul gimmick. And then all of a sudden, right at the end, Darby Allin hops out of the helicopter, presumably onto something, into a lake or something. I don't fucking know. It was pretty cool. Then Sting, like he promised, walked him out to the top of the ring, gave him a little fist bump. They kind of hugged, you know. It was pretty touching. It was like a father walking his son to school, skateboards down to the ring, and then CM Punk comes out to a huge fucking pop. He's wearing long black tights for the first time, I think, in his career. Maybe, I don't know. He probably had an indie run where he wore tights. Good look for him. Great match. Somebody said that, yeah, oh, you look like you were a little tired towards the end of the match. I don't think so. Like, it was worked where there were little homages paid to previous matches before. There was a side-by-side comparison with a Bret Hart 1-2-3 Kid, former X-Pac match that they had on Raw from a long time ago, and there was the opening contest of a collar and elbow tie-up, and then that led into a arm drag. It looked shot for shot when you compare against the two, but again, an arm drag snapmare out of a collar and elbow tie-up. Like, come on. But at the same time, on commentary, CM Punk was wearing a Bret Hart shirt, so yeah, that totally makes sense, and CM Punk loves himself some Bret Hart. But yeah, no, this was a deliberate pace that eventually did build up. A whole bunch of crazy spots in this one, almost exclusively done by Darby Allin, because, yeah, that dude does not give a single fuck about his well-being when it comes to putting on a great match. Irish Rip to the corner that he takes by going through the top and second turnbuckle, smashing his fucking back. He's in the ring, mind you, smashing his back, going horizontally through the fucking ropes, and then crash landing on the fucking floor, because he's a nutcase. He also does a moonsault gimmick off the top rope while Punk's on the floor, as well as, like, the best suicide dive in the business, where he just absolutely throws his body at him. Darby Allin's not that big of a guy. It's not that big of a hit, but he makes it look so violent. The finish of the match came when Darby Allin set up for his finish, the coffin drop, the splash just to the back, but it apparently sucks to take because there's no hands or there's no knees to help cushion the blow, so you're just taking all 160 pounds of them right on your torso. So Punk's laid out for the coffin drop, and then Darby goes for his jump. Punk just sits up. Darby just crashes right behind him. It's fucking great. Earlier in the match, Punk hit a GTS, but it was too close to the ropes, and he takes two of the best looking GTSs I've seen Punk throw for sure, where he just looks like he absolutely eats shit, because the GTS is just a fireman's carry over the front, brings up the left knee, right knee, I don't know, brings up a knee. It's a left knee in this situation. Brings it up, Darby eats shit on the front of it, and then he tumbles to the outside for the first one, and then for the second one, he's not so fortunate. He ends up just eating it, and then Punk, covers him, 1, 2, 3. He was never losing his comeback match. Absolutely celebrates in the ring. And then this is where my old cynical professional wrestling heart just kind of got, oh God, they're not going to do this, are they? And then it's like by the end of it, and it's like, no, this is a different company, and this is a different era, and this is professional wrestling, not stupid sports entertainment. This was completely unscripted, by the way. This came out during the press conference after the fact, but like I said, Sting went to the back at the beginning, okay, and then he came out, and Darby's still crumpled up because he's selling GTS. As one does, he's a good worker, of course, so Sting comes out, and he's standing on one side of Darby, and then just sticks his hand out to Punk, and they shake hands, and then they look down at Darby. And then I'm thinking, because of years of just watching bad creative, I think, oh God, they're going to put the boots to this kid, and then they're going to form their own little legend stable, and then this thing helps him up, tries to help him up to begin with, and then Darby gets over to the ropes, a little bit too much pride, and then he hoists himself up. Punk extends his hand, and gets a handshake. Darby shakes hands with Sting, and they all go to the back. Nobody gets beat up, and it fucking ruled, because it absolutely, Punk was going to be a superstar regardless, and that absolutely made Darby Allin, he was the best choice for this comeback match, because the kid will do anything, and he looks like a superstar because of it. He loses nothing for getting pinned in the comeback match of all comeback matches. There is no comparable situation between Punk returning to professional wrestling, because he's still young enough to go. It was a huge layoff, and he was one of, if not the biggest stars at the time that he decided to just absolutely leave professional wrestling. It was not the Matt Classic that we're going to see from Punk in the future, but it was still a really good comeback match. And Paul White came out and fucking squashed QT Marshall. 3 minutes, 2 seconds. Totally worthless. But again, that was there for a reason. It was there for a reason. Another thing that was revealed after the fact during the press scrum was that this match didn't have a time frame attached to it. So, oh God, we could have had that Mat Classic between Paul White and QT Marshall. It could have went to a 20-minute time. No, that was never the intended purpose of this. It was going to go as long as it needed to. Okay, there was a couple of promos after this, and it's like everybody needed to go get a piss, of course, after that action-packed little run of incredible matches after the fact. This was there to just fill the time, be the buffer it needed to be, go for as long as it needed to. White hits the choke slam, covers up QT, goes to the back. No angle shot because there was no time afforded to it. It was exactly what it needed to be. Could we have done without it? Absolutely. Is nobody the worse for it? Absolutely, because QT Marshall, still a jobber. Aaron Solo, Camarado, might have a future. It's just not with QT Marshall. When the factory breaks up, nobody's going to care. No. QT Marshall might be a hell of a trainer. Moving right along. Couple of more promos. A really fucking great one by Malachi Black. Just continuing his feud with the Nightmare family, whatever. Cody's division of the Nightmare branding, whatever. Hopefully this ends up with just Malachi Black once again just running train on Cody, smashing his fucking face in, and Cody doesn't come back and Triple H Golden Shovel him. I would just love it a lot because his presentation, Black's presentation so far, has been perfect. Absolutely perfect. Just running train on everybody in there. Kicking Arn Anderson's old head off, kicking his son's head off, sets up a match on Wednesday for Dustin, former Gold Dust, Dustin Rhodes, and somebody who's over 50 who can still absolutely go. That match is going to be awesome because Malachi Black has been booked like an absolute killer so far. Main event time, and the fact that this one wasn't built up as well as other main events in the past was blatantly obvious because Christian Cage should not be in the main event picture, and yeah, this match was fine. It was about as good as you can get from Christian Cage, who at this point in time, and he actually always has been, like, he's never been one of my favorite wrestlers. He's always competent, okay? He just works kind of a discount Hart family style, you know, just technically sound, safe, good, couple of exciting spots, but outside of that, nothing great. Kenny Omega is still like the best wrestler on the planet, and I'm totally fine with him winning and, you know, having to bust out a top rope, second rope, I think second rope, one-winged angel to put away Christian because, well, Christian is still the champion of Impact, so, you know, you can't just J-Brown him with a couple of fucking knees, you know, to put him away, so, you know, you have to bust out the super finisher, and that's totally fine. It's not like he kicked out of the one-winged angel or anything like that because, hey, as for the special feuds, maybe Paige, probably not, because not even Okada got that honor. So let's we're just gonna save that one for a long time. But yeah, big spots in this match. Kenny slipped on a guardrail that had a banner on it. He didn't fall on his ass or anything, but he just, you know, they were on the outside there, and you got the bicycle guardrails or whatever. Kenny Omega does the gimmick where he just jumps up on the guardrail and then does a moonsault off the guy standing behind them. But in this case, he either overshot or landed on his heels and then just landed on his feet on the other side of the guardrail and acknowledged his fuck up, elicited the "you fucked up" chants, and then, yeah, no, just hopped back on the guardrail and hit a perfect moonsault back onto Christian anyways, and he's like, didn't let it affect him one little bit, so that was sweet. And then in the spot that I think he invented, I hadn't seen it before, and maybe my memory doesn't serve me well on this one, but Christian's laid out on the floor. Kenny grabs a table from under the ring, puts the table on top of him, hits the double foot stomp off the apron, through the table, presumably into Christian. When, you know, you don't quite know when to expect the bump coming, it always looks dangerous, but not as dangerous as Christian spearing Kenny through another table a little bit later in the match. And for whatever reason, okay, instead of, you know, tables, right, obviously, tables have the legs and they're supposed to just fold outwards or collapse when somebody's going through the table or hold sturdy. But in this specific instance, and I think Cage got cut up because of it, somebody got cut up, and I think it was Cage because he immediately grabbed the side of him. The fucking leg went through the table. It stayed on the padding and it stayed upright, and it just went through the fucking table and it landed right on Christian. It looked like it sucked. The spear was safe enough, and Christian does have neck troubles, and that's why he had to take the 7-year layoff as well. That was all well and good. Then, of course, you had your regular elite run-ins towards the end that resulted in the, the setup for the top rope, one-winged angel. Oh, and by the way, yeah, because everybody expected this, and it's not like it's anything new. Christian's finish, the unprettier, the kill switch or whatever. Kenny did kick out of that. So that was something that Don Callis had been putting over, that it's one of the nicest looking finishers. It really is. It's a pretty cool move. Kenny kicked that out because, what's your finish, kid? Let me kick out of that. But I don't know if, like I was saying, the crowd was tired for this, dead for it. It wasn't like it was a bad match. It was technically sound outside of the, the moonsault railing fuck up, but that was nothing that couldn't have been repaired with one move that absolutely happened right after it. They were just waiting because everybody knew that Bryan Danielson was going to be debuting, and they had the idea of Adam Cole in the back of their heads. So as soon as the 1, 2, 3 finished, everybody was like, okay, it's debut time. And then, yes, Gallows and Anderson had already run down to the ring. Don Callis was coming out as well, and they were putting the boots to Christian Cage at the end of it, beating him down, and then Jurassic Express came out, and Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. It sounds goofy if you don't watch the product, but a really good tag team. Jungle Boy has a very bright future, and Luchasaurus is fucking huge. It came down, tried to help Christian. That's already been set up for a minute. Christian's been working with the Jurassic Express anyways beforehand. They tried to clear the ring. They ended up getting beat up, and then Kenny Omega starts to cut his promo, putting over how great he is, and then saying that there's nobody in the world that can beat me because the only people that can beat me aren't here. They're tired or retired. I couldn't quite tell what he was going for, or dead. And then the lights go out, and because, I'm paid attention a little bit to being the elite, and it's like, as soon as he said dead, and it's like, oh, Adam Cole was killed in being the elite. The lights went out, and then all of a sudden, yes, Adam Cole is there. Huge fucking reaction, because that was at least a bit of a surprise on the back of that one. Everybody joined in for his Adam Cole baby. Blew the roof off that place. He got to do his little, okay, everybody sit down, it's story time for Adam Cole, something he used to do in Ring of Honor. Oh, by the way, his music is really good. It's like the Undisputed Era music from NXT. It's not quite I've Got Something For You from Ring of Honor, but, well, a boy can dream. It's really good music, though, by the way. It has lyrics. I'll have to go back to it and listen, but, yeah. It looked like he was going to square off against Kenny Omega. He was going to set him up as the new challenger, which, you know what? If you're going to be bringing in somebody, they got to be at the top of their game. If you're immediately going to square him off against the champion, that's the only time that it makes sense. That's the only time that it's cool. And it's like, okay, yeah, I could see that. And it's like, okay, it killed him in storyline, and then all of a sudden he just boom super kicks Jungle Boy, who got to his feet, and sides with the elite, because guess what, Kenny Omega got the stick back, and then he said, he's one of our best friends. What the fuck did you guys expect? He didn't say fuck, but hey, of course he was gonna side with them. And then it's like, okay, yeah, Danielson's coming out after this. And then, yep, Kenny Omega. So I guess, yep, you call that a happy ending. Har, 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 har. Because the elite are just being total fucking dorks at this point, because Don Callis continues to wear that pink fucking suit. And he was also wearing ruby red slippers for the show. Nick Jackson has the worst wannabe Hollywood Hogan fucking flesh dyed colored mustache, and then the black sideburns, and then the black soul patch. It's fucking atrocious, but they know they're geeks. They're playing up that they're geeks. So the corny jokes come off as just being a part of the gimmick. It's good. Because one of the other build-ups, I know I'm tangential on this one, but one of the build-ups for this match was Don Callis gave Christian Cage his first break in the business, booking him for a Winnipeg show that was nationally televised. Totally true and everything. But then he didn't call him back. Might have worked a couple of other shows for him. But the storyline was that, yeah, no, we didn't call him back because he was saving the spot for Kenny Omega, who at the time was 10 years old. It's just so funny. So yeah, Kenny Omega finishes up with, I call that a happy ending. So without further ado, then he goes to do his goodbye and good night, and then all of a sudden, Flight to the Valkyries hits, and then out comes Bryan Danielson to square off with the elite. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. They clear the ring. Kenny bails out. I think Adam Cole gets a little physical on this one, but I can't really remember because Danielson's laying in the kicks. The camera work is frantic, but it's not WWE fucking cameraman shaking, moving in and out. It's just a lot of shit is going on, and big stupid Doc Gallows ends up taking the fucking hook kick from the big man, and Nick Jackson, who just went through hell not but an hour and change ago with that cage match, ends up getting some stiff kicks from the American Dragon, and then he ends up taking the big knee to close out the show. And where the directions go from here, don't know, because the after party was Danielson and Cole maybe teasing a program to open up everything. Maybe, don't know. But Danielson also pointed at Kenny Omega as well. So do you immediately go to that? Because Page is ultimately going to be the guy who ends up taking the belt off of Omega. At least that's kind of what everybody thinks, and AEW just does logical booking. So do they go with that program right away? That makes a lot of sense, because Danielson wants to work Japan, he wants to work Mexico, when AEW has connections with New Japan, obviously, with AAA. Danielson can go wherever he wants while having the AEW contract, and they're all signed up. You guys seen it in the thumbnail. Everybody's been signed up. Huge fucking night for wrestling, and I couldn't be more excited because, yeah, there was a lot of debuts on this show. And there's probably a couple more to be coming in the next few months once some no-compete clauses come up. And you know what? The common criticism that, AEW's just running a bunch of former Fed guys. It's like, they don't snatch up everybody. And even Tony Khan's like, no, we aren't just going to be snatching up everybody. They're just picking up the guys who can move the needle. Bryan Danielson, big fucking star. CM Punk, big fucking star. Adam Cole, big fucking star. Ruby Soho, big fucking star for women's wrestling. And that division definitely needs all the help it can get. And they don't bring in guys who are absolute cancer, okay? Because there are some people that are out there that I would really like to see work. Like, I would love to see Austin Aries work. Just a dickhead in the locker room, okay? They don't need that. They don't have that there. That is one of the biggest compliments that everybody who's come into AEW has said, is that, this is a great locker room. People are saying hi to one another, which is just a weird thing to say, because maybe even in WWE, you don't even get fucking base-level pleasantries paid to you, which is fucking odd and weird. But, in bad work environments, which have been in many, that doesn't seem too terribly out of the ordinary. And that these guys are happy because they love pro wrestling. And the guy in charge loves pro wrestling. He doesn't have any masters to listen to. He has his own money. He's not booking too many shows. There's just 2 shows that he needs to book, okay? Because the 2 dark shows, Dark and Elevation, that's just for people to get reps in, because they aren't doing house shows, okay? They aren't touring out there. And they got a lot of green talent. They got a lot of young talent that just need the matches. And that's what happens over there. They want to start running angles over there. If they want to start working on gimmicks and characters, the fucking great place for it. It's just this roster is getting loaded, and there could be a couple more on the horizon. I don't know how Ric Flair's going to work into this. Like, there's a couple of hints being dropped there, and it seems pretty likely that he's going to be doing something there. Like, I don't know if he becomes a mouthpiece for the Inner Circle, especially if they're going to be continuing with the Pinnacle feud, because they have Tully Blanchard and you got that 4 Horsemen connection. Or does Ric Flair become the mouthpiece for the Elite? And that would be fucking great, because they could do the whole limousine riding, jet flying thing. I would love that. And then, of course, you have Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. He's going to be showing up at some point, probably full gear. And is that going to be enough to put them over the top? I don't know. But everybody's saying, especially Punk, that came out in the press conference as well. It's like, we're not looking at WWE's competition. Our competition is the fans. We got to perform for them, because they're coming out and they're showing up for us. So it's a great time to be a professional wrestling fan. I'm not going to say that I'm going to be committing any specific time to weekly watching. I know that I'm not going to be running these videos back often, because they only run 4 pay-per-views a year, which is great. And doing weekly recaps is just not conducive to this channel at all. Okay, I'm already pushing it a little bit by just running 2 wrestling videos, 3 if you count it within the past month. So, and I know that it doesn't really appeal to a whole bunch of people. I just know that with media absolutely taking a shit, sports taking a shit, every sort of, even just a little bit of escapism, anything that you kind of like and enjoy, if something's really good, you gotta point it out, because we talk about a whole bunch of really just awful shit. And you know what? When there's a bright point out there, you gotta give it props. And unless AEW turns to crap, and you know what? It always can, but The guys who are in charge and the guys who are working there, they don't seem to have an ego. They seem to have their heads screwed on straight. And I'm just excited because it's one good thing to look forward to, just maybe a couple hours a week where you can just take your mind off of the encroaching authoritarianism. It's a group that does it right, that you don't have to have the cognitive dissonance to just throw away any of your other values to just appreciate as being a really good project. And I wish them nothing but success, not just from a selfish standpoint, but just because a lot of people are saying that it feels like professional wrestling's back. This feels like entertainment's back, at least on a small scale. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I know this was long. I didn't anticipate it being that long, but I have a love of professional wrestling. What can I say? I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.